Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash, that honors the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Requai, back in here with another quick and Lord's will as always, Yahweh Ratzah, Yahweh willing and edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, it's just going to be titled, I have it on the screen, and here it says, before you leave your house, right? So this is one of the key things I was just thinking about recently, and one of the things I consistently apply is, something I do before I leave my house, before I go to the plantation, before I leave my job, before I actually eat food or something. But specifically speaking, before you go about your day, one of the things I do before I leave my house is pray, right? And something I always think about before even, leaving the house, you think about, all these things that happen, that's going on in the world. There's a lot of theft and there's a lot of robbery. There's a lot of, dangers that are going on in society, right? And you just have to be so mindful of all these different things, right? So, you just want to, say those prayers, before, you go about your day, right? So what I'll do is quickly, I'll go to Psalms. And I remember, I don't know how long ago, I heard Apostle Gabar talked about this one prayer in this particular psalm here that he adds into his prayer. So I'm just going to read the first psalm, and then I sincerely pray and hope that this is edifying, right? So this is Psalms 121. I'll start at verse 1, and it says, a song of decrees. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help, right? So it says, my help cometh from the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber or sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand, right? So the Lord is essentially, our protection. Like it says in Proverbs, the name of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and it's safe, right? So that's why it's so important to, call upon the Lord's name, and then to actually, have that, communication, consistently, like it says in, I think it's Baruch, seek him 10 times more, right? So, especially in these times, right? Because, and I'll get a precept in regards to that, because in these times, with all these things that are going on in the world, you just want to make sure that that protection is going to be so valuable and so important, in times of Jacob's trouble, right? And just in these times right now where things are like, I don't want to say decent, but things are not as crazy as they will be, right? Because, at this point, people have the liberty to essentially, okay, go to the store, get their groceries, they can go to their job and such and such. They have their, what's it called? They have their, so-called money in the bank and all that stuff. But, you really would start to see, a change in people's behavior when, one, when the dollar crashes, two, when there's very limited access to food, right? Because I remember one of the things that Joker said, for brothers who haven't seen it, in one of the Batman movies, with that actor that passed away, and one of the things that Joker said is that these civilized people, like as he was talking with Batman in the interrogation room, he said, these civilized people would eat each other, right? And it's so true. And people was, when you really listen to it, people think that in the audience, people thought because he looks clownish and he looks crazy and stuff like that, but but he was right when he said that, because in the same spirit, we're kind of in the same spirit if you really think of it, because we're out on the highways, byways, saying these things, and people would call us crazy and call us foolish, but this is what's something these are some of the things that people will do, right, when push comes to shove, right? Because a lot of these people don't have morals, don't have character, don't have integrity, and essentially they don't have the healthy fear of the Lord, right? Especially our people. So, let me keep going. So it says, verse 6. The Lord, it says Psalms 121, verse 6, and it says, "The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul." And it is another psalm that goes into that he that dwelleth in the secret place shall abide in the meditation there, not the meditation. Let me just get it, Slakia, because I think I messed it up. Oh, okay. Okay, it's Psalms 91, verse 1, and it says that he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And when you think about a shadow is something that that provides shade, right? From the sun, right? Like say for example, you're walking in a desert, for example, and you see this large rock, and then what the rock does behind the rock, there's this nice place of cool and comfort, right? So that's what the Lord's doing, is providing us cool, comfort, stability. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, right? And is giving us protection, in these times, right? Okay, let me just go back to the last precept was really the point. Okay, it says the Lord, so Psalms 121 verse 8, and it says, "The Lord shall preserve thy going out and coming in from this time forth, even forevermore," right? And that's what we want, is the Lord to have mercy upon us, in these times, right? Because a lot of our people, they look at us on on the streets teaching, especially our people, and they take this compassion, they take the Lord's compassion, I should say, really and truly, lightly. They scoff, they mock, they think that it's a joke, they ridicule us because we're not wearing fancy clothing and so on and so forth. We may not speak eloquently, right? And this is the state of our people, and the people. That's what the Lord says in Proverbs, that He will laugh at their calamity, right? But just to stay really on topic in regards to before leaving your house, the importance of prayer, and then actually not being the sort of person to broadcast. And that's something I've noticed about a lot of like I work with some like Muslims and stuff like that, and what they tend to do is broadcast their so-called righteousness, right? Let me just give me 1 second. Okay, this is Matthew 6, verse 6, and it says, "But when thou prayest," actually I'll start at 5. Yahushua speaking, "And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues, in the corners of the streets, that may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have the reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to the Father which is in secret, and thy Father which is in secret shall reward thee openly. But when ye pray," it says, "use not vain repetitions as the heathens do," right? Even our people, that would also include our people as well, because that thing that people do, in the Catholic Church, the rosary beads, because it's the same. What that really is it's an example of a vain repetition. I remember doing that, when I was, younger in the Catholic school. I'm sure you brothers can also attest and remember this as well. Saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? And they would, like, I think each bead you had to say like one to 10 Hail Marys, something like that, right? And it shows how vain that their prayers are, right? Continuing on, it says, and as a matter of fact, when you really think of it as well, the word rosary is actually not in the scriptures. It was something that was introduced in the Catholic Church approximately around 1090 CE, Common Era, right? Right. This is not something that that you don't actually find that at all in the scriptures, right? Continuing on, it says, for they think that they shall be heard for much speaking, right? And that includes our people as well, because, they think that, by saying more, they can get more, so to speak, right? And this is a saying in the world, less really is more, right? Straight to the point. Oh, that's not it. Okay, Sirach, verse 39, verse 26. No, Salakia, 28. And it says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury, lay on sore strokes. In their time of their destruction, they pour out their force and the wrath upon him which made them, right? So I'm reading this because in these times you have a lot of essentially spirits that are created for vengeance, and as something I've noticed as well, with a lot of migrants pouring into the U.S., a lot of even into Canada as well, these Elamites coming into the U.S., that's going to create a lot of sedition between the people who have been here. I'm kind of talking mostly about Esau, right? Because they feel like they're essentially being wronged, and the Elamites are taking over, and so on and so forth. That's going to create a lot of sedition, right? A lot of tension between these two groups of people. That's just my my theory, as a young man just speaking, right? But I'm reading this also with all these people coming in, right? What you have is a lot of people essentially are going to have a strong disdain for them, and then you're going to have a lot of people who don't know exactly where these people are coming from, and there's essentially what's going to happen. People are not going to know too much about essentially who these people are, and then there's going to be, the Lord's going to put a spirit on some of these people to enact vengeance because they don't have essentially a loyalty to the state. And that's something that also happened, especially in Rome as well. That was one of the reasons that Rome fell, because I was reading it recently, and it says, one of the reasons they fell because they were unable essentially to recruit, Romans, like Roman citizens, so to speak, into their military. They had to essentially get people from people who are outsiders, essentially come in and play the role of a soldier, right? Right. So a lot of these people who are coming into the country can be an example of a spirit created for vengeance, especially in these times, right? And their loyalty is kind of just to the people who essentially hired them, right? They're kind of just like hirelings. They'd have no loyalty to the actual state, but just to the employer, right? And someone can offer them more money, and then their loyalty can change, right? So and then on top of that, you also have a lot of people who are wronged by the very state that they're living in, and they could be a citizen of that country as a whole. They can be also examples of spirits created for vengeance, because Esau puts forth a lot of unrighteous decrees where a lot of people are being screwed over, right? And then they're just waiting, looking for that opportunity to enact that vengeance upon whoever it was, right? I've heard brothers describe this. I haven't seen the movie, but in the movie, I think when it was Purge, there was like I think it was the election year. Correct me if I'm wrong. They said one of the things that happened in one of those Purge movies, I think it was the one about the politicians specifically. One of the things that people did was go after the politicians, right? So that's another example of other, people who are locals, spirits, creative of vengeance, right? Let's get Matthew. Okay, Yahushua is speaking, Matthew 24, verse 12, and it says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many wax cold, right? And that's happening slowly and as the cost of things essentially start to go up. You start to see that dwindling away of people's so-called affection. It wasn't never affection in the first place, but you start to see that dwindling away. Essentially, people are actually losing that that pleasantry, and losing that I don't even want to say camaraderie, because it's not even that strong. It's just at that sort of borderline societal affection for each other, right? And especially as something that I also noticed, as a lot of these migrants come into the country because people don't want them there, right? So people are waxing cold and have a very strong disdain for a lot of these people, right? Okay. Let me just get. Okay, this is 2 Kings 19 and 19, and it says, now therefore, O Lord, Yahweh, our power, I beseech thee, save us thou out of his hand, and that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that thou art the Lord Yahweh, thy power, even thou only. Then Isaiah the son of Amos sent to Hezekiah, saying, thus saith the Lord, power of Israel, that thou hast prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria. I have heard. This is the word of the Lord Yahweh that hath spoken concerning him. Virgin, the daughter of Zion, it says, hath despised me and laughed thee, and scorned the daughter of Jerusalem, hath shaken her head at thee, whom thou reproached and blasphemed, against whom has exalted thy voice, and lifted up thine eyes on high, even against the Holy One of Israel. But the messengers thou hast reproached, the Lord has said, with the multitude of my chariots, I am come up to the height of the mountains, and to the sides of Lebanon, and will cut down the tall cedar trees thereof, and the choice fir trees thereof, and I will enter into the lodgings of his borders, into the forest of his Carmel. Right, so what I really wanted to get out of this account here was Hezekiah's prayer, because in this moment of his rulership and his of his reign, is the fact that one of the things he did was he prayed to the Lord, in the moment of Sennacherib, because Sennacherib was essentially he was kind of like boasting that who is this God that's going to essentially come and save you, right? And and also the scriptures say on his end, let not a rich man boast in his riches, and let not a mighty man boast in his might, right? So that is a failing on his part. But the point I really kind of wanted to draw on right here is the fact that one of the things that Hezekiah did, and he was an example of a righteous king. He prayed to the Lord, and then the Lord came to his defense, right? So it's the same thing, right? Same thing, because you have that's one of the things that is so important about knowing our own history, right? Because we can use this and have this mentality, like especially when we're going through our moments of affliction, and especially when Esau comes down with that great wrath, knowing that you have a short time is to, have that, keeping those prayers in mind, right? Continuing to pray, essentially. That's what I'm trying to get at right here. Let me just get one more. I didn't want to make this too long, but I always go over 20 minutes. Okay, this is Tobit 12:8, and it says, prayer is good with fasting and alms and righteousness. A little with righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold, right? So that's really the point I kind of just want to touch on, the importance of the prayer, right? Because the scriptures say that the angels of the Lord encampeth around those that fear him, right? Because we want that protection, man. We don't want to lose that hedge of protection, right? So anyways, I sincerely pray and hope that this lesson was edifying and it was a comfort to you and your day. But I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Makakadash, that honors the apostles and elders who are millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.